Welcome, Wapham crew, new listeners, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, whoever may be listening beyond the omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, September 16th. Sunday, September 17th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. If you're listening or watching us live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You may also find us live on eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio. If you want to watch, you can watch us on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, as well as YouTube and Twitch. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, tune in to us under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Facebook, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, Podfind, Podbean, Altel.com, GeoSarn, VLC, Amazon Music, and Audible Media. We're all over the place. I'm sure there's other places we could go, but I can't even think of one. So I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight, we will be talking to and getting to know Miss Kelly L. Walters. So, a little about her. She found herself on a spiritual journey very young in life, for as long as she can remember. She has always been very observant, introspective, sensitive, philosophical, seen deeply into things, and have been very inquisitive. One of the earliest memories she has is of a wild bird landing on her finger in her backyard. Looking back, it was a goldfinch. There are more recent pictures and videos in 2001 of a variety of wild birds doing the same thing in a metro park. Her parents have observed, along with anyone else who has known her, that animals have always been drawn to her. She feels deeply connected to nature and the interconnectedness of all things. One of the principles that she feels strongly about is that animals will communicate with you if they feel safe with you, and if you are still and quiet yourself. Don't hang on to an outcome of your interaction and just listen without judgment and not filtering it through your own experiences. It works that way with anything, really. However, animals are unique in that they do not filter themselves and don't have an agenda. They are pure in their intentions. They pick up on the bad energy or intent of humans, which she is sure you may have noticed. This is one reason we have domesticated dogs and trained them to watch over us and our properties. They can tell if your new date at the door has bad intentions before you can. Interestingly, she knew from when she was a small girl that everything had energy. She felt the energetic field that we all give off in different objects. Some people see auras. She had to practice to see those. She felt before she could see. When you find you vibe with someone or that gut feeling someone gives off bad vibes, you're picking up on their energy. The same goes for a place you feel danger in, but you can't quite explain. That intuition is picking up on energy. She can teach you how to leave that bad energy behind and not bring it with you and into your home. How to sever soul ties, which are deeper when we form a bond or someone won't let go when we no longer are with them. Some of these are with toxic people sometimes. She also teaches how to protect yourself every morning when you wake up and how to cleanse your dwelling. She does chakra cleanses, which help move stagnant energy. This can get trapped in our energy centers. These centers are connected to organs, bodily functions, stored traumas, memories, involving your emotions, and can affect your mood. If blocked or negative energy is left to fester long enough, it can form illness and disease. She can help remove these blocks and get the energy force flowing again and remove negative energy hold on, I just jumped. That is left, hold on. The energy force flowing again. Remove negative energy that may be stored there. She can help cleanse it. She can also do a reading while going through the process. She encourages, if you do call in tonight and you do get your chakra cleansed and read, etc., to go back and watch again afterward, because you may pick up on something you haven't before, and taking notes to reference later to get the whole experience. She's not a medical professional, so please seek medical advice should something come up. She's been called the Chakra Healer to the stars, and she will not divulge her clientele, as that would not be, very cool, as she wouldn't share your information either if she was doing a private reading on you. She does private sessions, but she is doing them free on the air today, so hopefully you guys call in and we can get some chakras cleansed. I know you're really good at what you do. We've had you on. It's been quite a while, but it's pretty awesome and amazing what you do.
Thank you very much, Tessa. I really appreciate being here. It's been, like you said, quite a while since I've been here, so I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous with the wide audience that you have to be on the air, and I want to say hi to a bunch of people that I appreciate following and listening and being my friends, and some of the family that I think are out there supporting me on my journey here. And so yeah, I'm very fortunate to have people that are out there. So, but welcome to people that are new to this and are here for the first time, and your listeners. I'm really appreciative of everybody here. So yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. So, how did this all start with for you as a young child? You just started picking up on energies. Like, can you give us a few stories or a little more depth?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I think it started because I was very sensitive as a child, and I was very aware of suffering around me. And I think it was because my mom, for one, she was diagnosed with depression, and I didn't realize that because I just found that out from my dad. That right after they were married, about a year into it, she was diagnosed with depression. She had taken some medication that messed with her hormones, and they thought that they had gotten her on the right track when they took her off of it, but apparently they did not. And the knowledge at the time was such that they really didn't know how to deal with that. So, as a child growing up in a home with a parent that had that, I was very in tune to her. I was very in tune to the changes that she had gone through, and very in tune to her moods, her feelings, how she felt very vulnerable, and how she felt like the way that her perception of the world and the way that how she had grown up was not exactly ideal. And she would share with me some things, but there are also a lot of things that she didn't share that I picked up on. And then I heard stories of how, like, her mother had forbid her to go out with her friends, and there wasn't any explanation why. And her friends were going to go to a party, and it was over by Lake Michigan. And my mom really wanted to go, and she was angry with her mom because there was no explanation. And she felt like she was being unfairly grounded, like punished. And, there was no provocation for it. And come to find out, it was like my grandma was saving her from herself. And what happened was this group of girls took a convertible and they ended up drinking. And they ended up going too fast, taking some curves. And some boys were involved, and they were kind of chasing each other in car chase. And back then, they didn't really have seatbelts in the convertibles. And they ended up taking a curve too fast, and they didn't make it, and they plowed into a tree. And where my mom would have been sitting was up on the back of the convertible, where it wasn't a seat, but just the back of it. And one of the girls ended up that was sitting there up in the tree, and the rest of her was not, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So she was definitely saved from herself. And there were witnesses in the other car. It was horrific. And there were a lot of different instances like that in my family where people knew something was going to happen, but there was no indication of it ahead of time. And I started picking up on things like that. And there was no like foreshadowing or indication anything would happen, but I just started to feel like this isn't right. And then I also had times where, like with the birds and other animals, they would just come up to me. And I just thought that was normal. I thought everybody experienced that until I found out they didn't. And I would tell people, and they're like, "What? Are you serious? Come on now." But animals are weird that way. Like a lot of times, if they do something that's out of the ordinary, they won't necessarily be like, "Hey, I'm going to pose for a picture while we're having this moment." So, but I actually, when I was giving you the bio, I think I messed up on the year because it was 2021, and I've got those in my Facebook photos in an album. So, but yeah, a friend of mine who does amateur photography, like went with me, and he took photos, and I took photos. It was like, the woodpecker or, the red-winged blackbird would be like here, and then it would land here, and, I would be able to take a video with my phone here or take pictures. And then there were times when, he'd be standing over here and he would take one that was more professional, and, he'd be able to get a really good angle. And it was just like the most bizarre thing because I would feel, like, Snow White or something. I'm like,
I know, when I read that, I was like, it's like, Sleeping Beauty or Snow White, it totally reminded me of one of the Disney princesses or whatever. When you see a wild bird land on their finger, that's totally what it reminded me of.
I know, I was just like, are you getting this? Are you seeing this? Is this for real? I was just like, it was surreal. It just didn't really feel real. And then I thought back and I'm like, this is just like it was when I was a little girl. And the bird kept getting closer on the branch. And then I thought, well, I don't have anything to lose. I'll put my finger out. And I'm like, well, there it is, But it's like one of those things where if you think about it too much, then it's like the animal picks up on, like a weird vibe and it goes away. But if you don't really think about it and it just happens, then the animal's like, yeah, it like vibes with you, and it doesn't see anything wrong with it because you're in the moment with it. But, like I said, the minute you start to, like, it's like, okay, if you're taking a picture of it, if you're calm and you're doing it slowly, but if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I had this angle, and I wish I would, you start thinking, then, and not just going with the moment, then the animal picks up on it like, what's the matter with you? Like, why are we like making anxiety about this? I don't feel right. And it goes. So does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I've had other encounters, like, I've rescued animals for a long time, especially exotics, because I feel like dogs and cats are something that, like you can't go 5 feet without like some sort of animal rescue with dogs and cats and farm animals and things like that, sanctuaries. But sorry, my voice is kind of weird right now. But exotic animals, it takes a certain kind of person to be like into those because it's kind of like people think they're scary or icky or whatever preconceived notion because it's not like fluffy and cute, typically. I mean, some people think like, oh, that lizard's so cute or whatever, but not everybody's drawn to it because it's not their like thing they grew up with. So I happened to grow up with them, and I've had them since 1980. And that kind of makes me dated as to how old I was. Yes, I was in kindergarten. And so, I'm older, but, that's okay. But I had those. And then as I got older, like I rescued them. And, because for me, it's kind of like the underdog, the outcast, the animals nobody wants. And, there are certain people that do, but, for the most part, they're kind of like the abandoned, not thought about. The laws don't really protect because they're geared more toward mainstream animals. So that's why I kind of picked up on them. And they're misunderstood largely. Like people think that they're aggressive, where, you would be on the defense too. And, if you were neglected or abused, you would be, kind of like standoffish and kind of, you know, like some of the dogs and some of the cats that are in the shelter, and they kind of wonder if they have behavior problems. But they get in the right home and they're cared for, and then they can be like the most loving, sweetest, loyal. Well, the same thing happens with these exotic animals. They just needed a chance. So, that's what I do. And I was more active with it, but now I've got quite a few. And, so I would rehabilitate and, give a chance. And then I would show people, how to take care of them, but in a fun environment. And it was that thing where I could pick up on what they needed. I could pick up on things with them that other people might not pick up on, or they might ignore, or they might not know really what they're trying to tell us. But every animal has a story. They all have a background. They all have feelings. We just don't always know to have that quiet, still voice inside of us and to get ourselves and our perceptions out of the way. How we want to, like, we try to sometimes have the filter of how we would go about things or how we would see things, like the lens of our own background. We have that in our way sometimes. But if we can just clear that filter and we can just have a pure intent of being unbiased and just be open, then we can learn what they have to teach us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it was like you were saying, like, such as when you had that bird on your finger, once you start thinking too much or whatnot, like, they pick up on that energy and what's going on there, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. Just, you got to have sort of like that calmness, like you said, within you for, I don't know, for certain interactions. But it's pretty funny because it's been coming up a lot in different TikToks and stuff, as far as even like rocks and plants and trees and things like that. Like, they also have energies and awarenesses and auras. I remember when I first saw an aura on a tree, I'm like, holy shnikes. It was pretty brilliant. But yeah, everything on the planet basically has feelings and auras and intelligence. And they were saying, what are the vegans going to eat now?
Great. Yeah. It's amazing. There is some sort of tree that has roots that they found are interconnected with each other. There's like a great big groundwork of it's almost like a nervous system of roots that, you just, like, every offshoot of this that comes up through the earth is the same exact tree. They're just clones. And they're all connected by these roots. And it's all one massive plant. But we see it as individual trees.
Here in Colorado, those such trees are called aspens. And like you said, it'll start with one tree and then they just spread out. But it's the same root system, same tree. And then recently with the Hawaii fires in Lahaina, Maui, those trees in the park there that had gotten scorched or whatnot, but I think they're okay. Those are all connected the same way as well. like you said, it's like a replica of that tree. I kind of think of it as like a family that's connected through the roots, but it's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing how everything is interconnected, but we just see the little parts and pieces of it. But it's really something like that. And the other thing is there's like this underground fungus that does the same thing where it just spreads out and it's all basically one. And they communicate with each other. There's I don't know if you've seen it, but there is like a it takes the I'm trying to explain this the correct way. It takes the energy vibration like is as if it's conducting electricity because it really does. Everything has electricity, the life force and whatnot. And it takes these electrodes and it connects it to different parts of the branches and the leaves and things. And it will translate that to a sound. And it'll start making music. And then they've taken that and they start to uh, do different things. Like they'll water it, they'll speak nicely to it, it'll give off different tones. And then they'll start to do things that would be kind of like almost like mean, like they'll start shouting and they'll start, putting fire next to it and they'll, do things like that and it'll start making ugly tones. So obviously, to me, that kind of demonstrates they do have feelings. But, to somebody that's really skeptical, they could be like, well, they're just reacting. But, it shows that they're doing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more than just reacting. And another thing they were saying was like plants can, like, they can see you standing in front of them or whatnot. I don't know if you saw this series, The Last of Us, but it's kind of like zombies that have like this mushroom sort of growth, and in certain places it's on the ground too. But like you were saying, the way that they connect and they interact with each other and communicate with each other. Like if you hurt this one certain one, all the rest of them know it and they know where exactly that happened, so they know where exactly to go in this movie, or the series. But that was pretty interesting.
I have not seen it, but it looks like something I would want to look up. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend it. It's a good show.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to look into that. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, I find it fascinating how everything interacts with each other and how, we as people interact with each other too. And a lot of times we're so busy in our lives that we really don't pay attention to the little things around us, or we get caught in a loop, get up, get dressed, do our daily routines, and we kind of interact with the same people. We just kind of do the same things. And then, you know, but then there are people that are on their inner work journey and then they find that they're isolated, what I've found, just through researching is that a lot of times when we feel alone, we feel isolated, it's because we're going through changes. And a lot of times that means that we're shedding our old selves. And that can kind of feel like we're mourning in a way, but it's learning to let go what no longer serves us. But that may also be people that no longer like fit our vibe. That's not necessarily bad people for us. It's just they don't necessarily understand where we're going anymore.
Mhm.
And that means we're making room for other people and that they will find us. But the thing with that, though, is we have to be our own authentic selves. We need to know who we are and what we want. And that also can be part of the journey. And we aren't going to attract the people that are meant for us if we are afraid to post on social media who we are. And sometimes we have to learn that first, but we need to also post along the way Because if we are posting with the idea of, well, what if people don't really like this? Then they aren't really going to like it. Or what if they get the wrong idea? Well, then those are the people that are not really meant for you. And that's
Like,
okay, you know?
yeah, and it's
And
part of the growth, I think. It was last weekend when we had Psychic Chris Garcia on, and we were talking about, how his group has changed, and sometimes it seems like, hey, that's your family or whatnot, and then they hurt you in different ways, and they do certain things, and you kind of have to shed them off, and then, it's really hard for people to lose people, and, but like you said, that makes room for people that you're meant to find, like everything, and people say this is so cliche, and it's not true, but I found it true in life, whether it's good or bad. Everything happens for a reason. It's just hard to see that reason in the moment, until eventually,
mhm.
you have realization, oh, well, that's why this happened or whatnot. It can be really hard, and taxing and difficult to go through, but it is for a very good reason. It's part of the growth.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And especially when things seem really hard and you seem like you're alone and nobody understands, those are the times when your personal growth happens the most. And it can seem really harsh and it can seem like nobody understands, but it is making room for the people that will and the people that do. And a lot of times those people are in the background. They're not coming forth yet. I've noticed that people that I thought didn't really care, they were too busy. And then there were times when I really needed it. I found I had gotten in my own way because I didn't reach out. I didn't think anybody cared. I thought I was by myself. But it was when I took the chance and I reached out, I was like, holy cow, there were people there all along. I just didn't know because I thought that I was going to have to go it alone. And and it takes having to actually reach out and ask, even though it makes you really afraid.
And it's so hard to do, like, especially if you're a people pleaser and, or people fixer or whatnot, like you're trying to help. It's hard to reach out and ask for help, or sometimes it feels like it takes too much energy to explain what I'm going through and what I need right now. So I'd rather just do it myself. I go through that a lot as well, but yeah, it is hard to reach out, especially when you are feeling alone, and people aren't mind readers. Not everyone, some of them, but they don't pick up on the ticks or the different things that are going on within you. So yeah, you do have to reach out. So hard.
Yeah, it is. It is, especially when you're used to like feeling like you said, like the fixer, like the person that everybody else comes to, and and you feel like you're afraid to be vulnerable. So, but it is pretty surprising, like the people that you didn't expect that would come forward, and you're kind of like you have to allow yourself to be open and be vulnerable sometimes, even if it is highly uncomfortable for you, just because it is big part of the growth. And you can't grow unless you are open to the growth. And that was a big thing. Like to let go of those protective layers because those are actually holding you back more than you know. Which
Hmm.
those are actually a trauma response. And so that is huge because we're kind of like um we're kind of that is a pattern in itself. And if we're going to break free from it and make the world a better place, we all have to break free from the patterns that we put ourselves in or that were put upon us when we were growing up. And that when we break through from those patterns, we can look back and we can see the stories that we were told and the things that we observed that our parents and our grandparents and that we heard about great grandparents. We can break through from those patterns. We can heal. When we heal ourselves, we are also healing the generations before us that didn't have the tools or didn't have the opportunities. We're healing everybody. That's generational healing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's important to break the cycle. And I remember when you were talking about your mom and what she went through and how she realized, because when you're stuck in that life at the moment, you don't really realize it's not right. Like, this isn't right. This shouldn't be how things are. And it, like you said, it is a generational thing that is passed down. So once that cycle is broken, like, it's such a blessing for, generations to come, because there's going to be more and more healing and better lives, um, being born, basically, or had.
Yeah, yeah. And I can see that there was a pattern before my mom. I can see that, there were unhealthy things that were kind of attitudes and uh, kind of a scarcity mindset and kind of a feeling of sadness, like a deep sadness, and like a feeling of women tried to empower themselves, but they also felt like they were hitting against the wall. And they felt like they had to put up with people's behavior that was um, not in their best interest, and that was also, some of them endured a lot of abuse. My mom
Mm.
was not one of them, but some of the other people in the family were. And, for some of them, it was very scary, and for some of them, they just thought that was the way it was. So, there was a lot of life lessons for, you know, to break through patterns and to learn that, you don't have to be super tough and that, people don't have to be your enemy. And, I don't have to be an island in myself. That, I can be vulnerable and not think that everybody's out to get me,
Right?
but when you're, yeah. So it's just kind of one of those things where, we can all work together and most people, honest and nice people. But when you've had things happen, it doesn't always seem that way.
Hmm.
But, it's one of those things where it's a lot of growth and letting go. And I think a lot of people are at that point where they're in different places with that.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the whole, being an island, sometimes it's made that way because you're in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation. Sometimes it's just because sometimes you need that time to yourself to get to know yourself better. Um, I don't know. Like, I used to not get it when I'd see, like, my mentor, she was single forever, and I'm like, man, like, don't you get lonely or whatnot? And no, because she loved spending time with herself, and I totally get it now. The more I learn about myself, like, the more I like spending time alone, like having a quiet retreat or whatnot, and not having all this friction and activity around me. Sometimes it's a good healing thing, but it's also important to have, people in your corner and people to back you up. But yeah, we get into these different situations so many different ways.
Yeah, I think there's a season for everything. There's a season to be by yourself and self reflect, and that season could be, doing that for an hour or two a day. It could be, you know, being 6 months single. It could be 2 years single. It could be whatever it is that is individual to you. But I think somebody that can't stand to be alone, then the thing that they need to do is take time to be alone and to
Mhm.
be comfortable with that and to learn about themselves, because usually the thing that we're running away from is the thing that we need to work on the most.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, people are out there looking for somebody to complete their happiness. But I think it's important to find that love for yourself within and then find somebody to complement your happiness. Um, I don't know, there's so many different variations of things going on, but it's very important to get to know yourself really well and love yourself. Yes, there's things about ourselves we hate. We're our own worst critics, but find somebody to complement it, not to complete it, because if you lose that person, then you basically lose yourself. Um,
Yeah,
Kind of like,
absolutely. And they have your own identity. So that if you do lose that person, you're not losing yourself so much that you have to go find yourself again.
yeah.
I've, yeah, because I've been there before. Like when I was younger, I would lose somebody and be like, oh my gosh, I was so tied up in them. And then my friends were like, well, finally you're back, because, I was like, I didn't want to do anything without that person. But, now I have, friends and things like that. But I enjoy a lot of my alone time. But, I'm doing a lot of inner work and working on things. But, there's a time where I'm thinking, well, it'd be nice to, I do go on dates once in a while, but it'd be nice to have that person that, I settled down with and that is a special person that I spend the rest of my life with and build something with.
And
And,
they say
you
you
know,
generally find that when you least expect it. Don't go looking for it, it'll find you.
well, I'm definitely not on the dating apps anymore. So if it's
I've heard
meant to be,
so many
it'll
horror
happen.
stories. I've heard so many horror stories. I'm like, if I do ever become single, for whatever reason, I am not going to go there.
Oh, my experience was, it was kind of like, you can find like anybody on there, but it's sort of like ordering a pizza. You get like different specifications, and then it's like, well, it's just, it seems kind of impersonal to me. It's like, if this doesn't work out, well, it's like you could go on dates in rapid succession if you really wanted to, like people I think are afraid to commit to somebody because they're afraid they're going to miss the one around the corner. Like maybe the one will pop up in their inbox on Monday and they've already thought that they like the one on Friday, but they're kind of waiting and hoping, well, if this doesn't work out, maybe the one in the inbox on Monday might, or, I really like this one, but they only tick off 8 out of 10 boxes. Maybe the 10 out of 10 will show up. It's just really ridiculous because, you know, maybe that one that you're with, maybe they're not like a 10 on the looks factor, but maybe they'd be really loyal and loving and have all the really real qualities, not the superficial ones that don't mean anything, but people are just
Definitely.
so stuck on looks and stuff. It's really, kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's funny, like, when I met my husband, he was totally not my type. Like, I think he's super hot just because of, like, his charisma and his personality and who he is. But if I were going out looking for somebody, I wouldn't have been like, hey, let me go talk to that guy. But he came over and talked to me, and I don't know, there was just something about him, like, I don't know, the energy I picked up on and kind of like that soul connection. But after I met him that first night, um, couldn't quit thinking about him. And I'm like, this is so weird because he's totally not my type. Because like you said, you look for like the outward stuff and, I want him to look this way. I want him to be this tall, yada, yada, different stuff like that. Totally like out of the ballpark as far as what I'd be looking for. But like you said, like maybe it's that pizza with anchovies, and you're like, I don't know if I would like anchovies, but then you try it and it's really good. I don't know. I don't know. He's just been amazing, and we've been together for like 22, almost 23 years now. Um, and there is an age gap and stuff, but yeah, it was like, had I just been going to the bar and looking for somebody that I'm like, hey, like, I could really see myself with that person. Like, generally when you find the one that you're looking for, as far as like qualities and stuff, as far as looks, the cover on the book, you're always let down because like the spirit and the energy and the different things like that just don't add up. Generally, that person can be very shallow or whatnot. Like there's different degradations to it. But yeah, I wasn't even looking when I found him. I was completely surprised and swept off my feet. And it's just pretty interesting, walking around the corner, you might bump into somebody. It could be him. There was this one video I saw the other day where this guy was on his motorcycle and he saw this girl behind him and he got off his bike and went back there and he's like, hey, I just thought, you were really cute and I was wondering if I could get your number. Maybe we can go on a date or something. And then she said, yeah, and then we're going to get married and then we're going to have kids. And he's like, we are? And it was so funny because they dated, they got married, they had kids, and it's like this perfect story. Like, it's so random but awesome at the same time. Just the strangest ways to
Wow.
meet people.
Oh, that's so cool. And I love your story because that's real. I mean, those are the real moments. The one where, I just love moments like that. I love to learn how people met. That's how I just absolutely love that. I love the real love stories. The Disney movies, I absolutely hated those as a kid. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody wants to be the Disney princess, and I didn't because there was no like real depth to it. And I mean, yeah, sure, it was backstories, whatever, but it was hard to relate. So I just, and it was all about just how beautiful she was, and sure, she did this or she did that, but it was just like the guy was just taken aback by her beauty, and I just, it's like, I didn't think I was ugly, but it was just like I want it to be deeper than that.
Mm-hmm. Because looks fade, and I don't know if you've seen Frozen or not. Um,
Yeah,
I have because I have kids, but I love the way that story happened. Like, you know, uh, this princess fell in love with this guy, and he turned out to be a real prick. He turned out to be a real
yeah.
a-hole. Come to find out, just left her in the freezing cold and try to take over the whole, kingdom or whatnot. But to me, that was the most real sort of, Disney love story. I'm like, about time you guys came up with something that was real instead of, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like, thank you. Yeah, yeah. It was like, yeah, like you said, it was about time. It's like, well, and it doesn't always happen pretty in the real world, and we got a little taste of it there. Yeah, it's like, hang on, boys and girls. So, yeah. So, I mean, not to say that the real world doesn't have beautiful endings, but obviously yours is a enduring love story, and obviously life has up and down, but you're going through it for the long haul.
I'm no
And
quitter.
people no, no, exactly. And if people expect it to be rosy and happy all the time, I think that's why the divorce rate's so high.
Yeah, and then people are used to going to work and being apart from each other most of the day. Yeah, you're going to spend a few hours per day together, then you're going to go to bed, or maybe you have different shifts or whatnot. But once COVID hit and people were forced to stay together at home, like that's when the divorce rate went up, and domestic violence and abuse and different terrible things like that were just immense. It was pretty scary. And then I think also with, Facebook and Twitter, which is now X, and all these different places, like there's so much fictitious things being shared as far as like people only show what they want to show. And then they're also more apt to have conflict. Like if you were face to face with somebody, I don't think you would have said that, but you're behind a computer screen on a keyboard. So they say the ugliest, most hateful things. Like, I don't know, I feel like we should be moving forward as the human race, but I kind of feel like we're dredging back a little bit.
I know what you mean. Like people, post something that's supposed to be like innocently funny, and then somebody will instantly get offended, and then it'll snowball from there. So it's like, wow, we got to watch what we're posting. And then sometimes, like Facebook or something else. Sorry, Facebook. I know you're hosting one of these, but
Right?
they'll just clamp down, and somebody won't even know which post it was that was offending, and then they won't like a picture of a lizard or something, and it's like,
Right?
how is that offensive?
I was
So
offended by
it's like
this.
kind of like we're in a weird spot.
Yeah, there's something man, I think I grabbed it. I was gonna share. Oh, breaking news. Local Facebook user discovers they can simply scroll past posts they disagree with instead of leaving an essay in the comment section. If you don't like it, just keep scrolling. But I think people, I don't know, kind of like yearn for that sort of turmoil or interaction. I'd rather not. Like, if I see something I don't like, I'll just keep scrolling. I'm not going to get on there and be like, I'm totally offended. Like, I don't know. It seems like back in the 80s and 90s or whatever, like, there's a sense of humor and people could discuss politics and religion. And it wasn't a big thing. And now it's like the smallest thing upsets people. And it drives not only friendships, but families apart. It's insane. We don't have to all agree on everything. It's good to be different from each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And, you know, I am all for like an open discussion as long as everybody's respectful of each other and, they're not trying to be hurtful about something. And I like to explore different viewpoints. Like I said, as long as we're not slinging dirt and trying to, make somebody feel small. Um, but there's like no room for that now. If you say one, I don't even know, like, somebody will take something even if you're totally saying it innocently or whatever. So I don't even like to engage unless I know the people anymore because it's not worth it. So, I'm very mindful of the posts, like even scientific posts, because, it's going to offend a different group that doesn't think that's science or, because there's going to be somebody somewhere that isn't going to like it. And I'm not one that really wants to, uh, censor myself, I guess is the right way to put it,
Yeah,
because, I want to be myself, but in the same regard, I don't really want to be flagged, either because, and I'm not trying to promote like one viewpoint or another. I just want to be able to be open to explore everything.
definitely. It's a strange world we're living in these days, boys and girls, and I think instead of fighting with each other, it's really important right now that we all come together because the world being a very beautiful place right now is a very hard place to be in, and we're going through so much turmoil and destruction and everything. Like, this is the time we need to come together because together we're stronger, instead of fighting each other. So I think a lot of these different agendas that the government or whoever else is putting out there is doing their job perfectly because it's tearing people apart, and they're pretty pragmatic and I think doing a really good job at what they're doing. And I'm not buying it, but so many people are. Some people might talk about them and say sheeple. I don't like to use that term. Um, but no, there's people that follow the whole agenda and people like you and I that are more awakened and we see what the heck is going on, and we're there helping our fellow man. I think it's amazing what you're doing with the whole chakra cleansing and everything. When we come back after this break that's coming up here in about 5 minutes, I want to get into chakras and for people that don't even know exactly what it is, because I just learned about it, I think a year or so ago, or like when I talked to you, like I'd heard about chakras and saw the whole, lineup and everything, but I didn't quite understand it. And different things keep popping up on my feed that are actually making sense. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Um, how did you get into the whole chakra thing?
Oh, well, I had a classmate, and he was going to school at the Kalamazoo Center for Healing Arts, and he was becoming a licensed massage therapist. And one of the things that they do is they do energy work, and he was learning the chakras. And, I did something similar already where I was doing healing work and I was, doing things with energy. I just didn't know what it was called.
Mhm.
And so he already knew that. He said, "Here, let me show you some more." So that was what, I learned, a lot from him. And he is absolutely amazing, and he has a lot of clients. He's really built that from zero. And I mean, it's just like he had to keep moving to bigger buildings and bigger practices, that he's built. And he's gone like all over the United States to, or, to be able to learn and take further classes, to be able to do different, techniques. And it's just absolutely amazing, like the avenues that started to open for him. And for me, it's like, wow, I finally have a name for it. And, so I can, work on that and help people. So I just love helping people and, kind of doing what comes naturally, which, I can use energy with plants and people. And I not only rescue animals, but I rescue plants, and then I help people. And it's just like, wow, if we, I've done like a whole earth, like I was part of the whole earth, like meditation and prayer circle one year. And that was just amazing energy. Oh my gosh. So, if we could do more of that and come together rather than be divisive, imagine what this world would be like, but, the
Utopia.
politicians, yeah, I mean, but the politicians, they gain more power if we're divided, and they always seem to find a different way to do that. Each year, there's a different theme, so that's kind of where we're at.
And it's funny you say that because, like, the elections are coming up. Guess what else is coming up? A new variation of COVID. Surprise, surprise. It's
Yeah,
like, what the
wow.
heck? Can we change the scenario here, or can we get a different storyline? Kind of sick of this one.
Well, yeah, and the climate stuff, it's acid rain, and now we're going to have, global cooling, global warming, it's now we get the wildfires. So there's always, something. So I guess we'll see what the theme is 5 and 10 years from now, because it's different than it was 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, they said we wouldn't exist now. So, we'll see.
Yeah, they've been talking about the end of time since the beginning of time, but I don't know.
Basically,
Yeah.
wow, we must have really saved ourselves because we're still here.
Yep.
So we must have done something right, even though everybody says it's wrong. I don't know, I'm confused.
We're like that nasty fungus you can't get rid of. But I love mushrooms.
Yeah. Mushrooms are one of the things I can actually eat with my allergies, but I don't touch the magic ones.
You don't touch the what?
I don't touch the magic ones.
Oh, I love those. I actually made some chocolates out of those. And we actually passed a bill here this last year to use that as medicine. And I do believe, like, marijuana, herbs from the earth we should use, mushrooms from the earth we should use. There's so many different things from the earth we can use instead of just falling for all this hoopla with the pharmaceutical company for depression and so many different things. It's pretty amazing what can be done and the effects of it. But hey, to each their own. I ain't gonna force no mushrooms on you.
No, I don't have any problem with it. I just don't know how I'd react, so I'd rather not find out. But if somebody else wants to and they're not committing, don't do it and drive. But if they want to do it in the privacy of their home and the practice of a professional, go for it. More power to you. Just don't have a bad reaction from it, please. So be safe, definitely. Do it, and have a good time, or do it for medicinal purposes, do it for therapeutic purposes, but just make sure you're safe and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and like medicinally and therapeutically, it's called microdosing. So instead of taking a ton, like a lot of people do, because they're like, hey, we're going to party, let's take a ton of mushrooms. You just take a little bit, and it's pretty amazing how it affects you. And I don't know, I'm actually for it. It's a good thing. And you can do it with a doctor or whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've never had any bad effects from it. But like you said, check with your doctor, yada yada. Make sure you're doing the correct thing. It's always good to have a friend and somebody there with you to support you. Because, you know, I don't know, I've tried different things. Like my sister was here and I tried DMT, and it was really a magical experience as far as like I was in my tree fort and I had pine cone lights and those turned into hearts, and then my kitchen window looked like this magical doorway. And I look over at my sister and she looked like an avatar princess. Everything was beautiful. There was nothing scary. But the thing I didn't like about it was I wasn't in control of myself. And I'm like, okay, this is all really cool, but when's it going to end? And luckily it was like a really quick thing. You know, it's only like 3 to 5 minutes, but it feels like forever. And she left me some. I haven't touched it. Don't wanna. But it was a cool experience to do. And I think there's different things like that. Like some people do meditation. There's so many different things we can do to tap into so many things within ourselves. I'm not good at meditating. How long is that going to take? No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's a good process, for the human being to go through these certain things, to learn more about yourself.
Yeah. I've heard that it is a good way to awaken spiritual growth and things like that. So, yeah, I myself am good at meditating, but somebody that's not, that might be a way to open up themselves. So, I'm not against it. I just don't know that I would do well with it. So, you know, I guess you don't know unless you try.
I know. It's kind of scary. Well, we do have to go to our first music break. So on this break, we have Miss Michaelan Hay from Ontario, Canada, with Pins and Needles, W Note and Mirror. If you haven't heard of her, go check her out on YouTube. She's not only, you know, recorded these songs, but she's also made some very epic videos. So you can go check her out on YouTube. It's Mikalyn, Hay, Hay. And then we also have Ms. Tracy Cruz from California. I'm trying to remember where she's from. Let me look real quick. From Oakland, California. And she's going to be singing Joyful Rain. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this 13-minute break.
Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. Your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. Your troubled heart bleeds like a river. It's rushing towards fields painted greener. It doesn't see the demons behind, praying you're getting close to the line so they can get their hands showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No, no one looked away without a scar, scar, scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is under reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is under reach, but objects may seem nearer
Oh, hi. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Why don't I hear you?
Dang it! I always miss a mute button.
I
There's
can
so
I can
many.
hear you now. I can hear
Yeah,
you now.
there's so many different pages, and sometimes I'll mute myself on one because I like to sing with the music, and I don't like people to hear me. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We got Miss Kelly Walters with us. Welcome back, Kelly. Thanks for sharing your
Thank you.
experiences and your knowledge with us.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, everybody, for listening, tuning in. Hopefully we didn't lose anybody, and hopefully if anybody wasn't able to tune in at the beginning, hopefully you're here now.
Definitely. So as I said before we went on break, can you tell us a little bit more about chakras? Like, I know there's people out there that are into their growth and wanting to grow and wanting to understand more about themselves. Where exactly are our chakras and what are they? How do they work? I mean, there's so many questions.
Sure. Chakras are energy centers. We have 7 main ones on our body, well, they're in our body. And the energy kind of runs up and down the center of our body along our spine. And our root chakra is kind of where we're sitting on. It's kind of the base for everything. It's how we are grounded to the earth. It's where we have, it's been a long time since I've done this. It's where our primal and our important energy center is. So it's how we kind of like relate to the world in like a primal way. It's kind of like our animal instincts. But like I said, it's kind of like at the base of our body if we're sitting down. And a lot of times, if people are talking about grounding, it means that it's grounding to the earth. And there are people that do earthing or they get a grounding mat. But if it's nice weather out, if you go to outside and you're walking barefoot, then you're activating your root chakra. And it's kind of where the base is for all the other chakras. If your root's off, then you're probably going to have the rest of your chakras off, or at least some of them, because that's kind of like, kind of like the basin where everything sits. So then the next one that you have is the sacral, and that one is located halfway between your belly button and like your bikini line. And that one is where it's your emotional center. It's where you have sensuality and creativity. They all come from this center. And so if you can imagine that if this one is not flowing properly, you're going to have issues in those areas. You're going to be feeling like you're going to have stuck emotions. You're going to feel like you're not able to move forward. You're going to feel some confusion. You might even have some depression and things like that. You could have anxiety. It's kind of like when you feel that in your stomach.
Yeah, when you get the icky feeling or a good feeling or butterflies or whatnot. So the root chakra, is that the yellow one?
Oh, the root is actually the red one.
Red,
and,
okay. And the next one we're talking about right now is the yellow one?
Oh, that one's the orange one.
Orange, okay.
Yeah, and then the one that's yellow is the solar plexus. That one is the one that goes between your belly button and like your top of your rib cage. So it's like, right in here, that's the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is the one that's your personal power, your self-esteem, your like your power of transformation, that's things like that. So if you're feeling like, that's congested or that's blocked, or you have an issue in this area, you're going to be feeling like you're small. You're going to be feeling like you can't do it. Like you're just going to be feeling like in a slump. Like you're not like going to feel very empowered. You're going to have issues with those things. That's the yellow one. The heart chakra is the green one. And that one isn't like right above your chest. I mean, like where your heart is, that one's in the center. And that's the green. And that's the opening of your feelings, your compassion and your capacity to love without conflict. You know, with like open and love. And when you have that stuck and the energy is blocked or you have negativity, then like negative energy, not negativity necessarily, but you have issues with that, that means that you're not open to being able to receive love, and you're having problems being able to give love. Like you're being self-protectant, or you're you know, you have some sort of block for some reason with that. And
yeah, it's weird because I went through something like that where like I'd find happiness, and without like realizing it, like intentionally doing it, like in the back of my head, like subconsciously, I would try to destroy that happiness. And I think it was because I felt like I didn't deserve happiness. I don't know. It was weird. I was self-sabotaging. Yeah, and I didn't even realize it. And then once I did, I was like, holy shnikes, I've been doing this repeatedly. Why? But it's once you realize it, you can stop that. You know, it's just like breaking that generational cycle. You can break that cycle within yourself of, man, I found happiness. I keep breaking it. And then you realize you're doing it. So then you can fix it. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how the mind works.
oh yeah, I did that too, where, you know, for whatever reason, like as a young kid, I felt like I didn't deserve things for a while. And, you know, I think I think it was because I felt different than everybody. And, you know, in some ways I felt like, oh, doesn't everybody do this? And then I realized, no, they don't. And then I felt really odd.
Well, yeah, and I've always been like, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I felt like that too. As a kid, like, even kids were like, wow, she's weird, because I'd share my paranormal experiences. She's weird. Don't talk to her. Because you don't talk about the paranormal in the Bible Belt. So I was left out that way. But yeah, no, I think it's because, like, my mom was killed by a drunk driver when I was 5, almost 6. And then my dad went through hell after that because, you know, he lost the love of his life. And then he abandoned us with our grandparents. We're going for a visit, never came back for us. And then, I don't know, it's just like you don't feel worthy or whatnot. Like, even though there were people there to take care of me and love me, my aunt and uncle, and my aunt is now my mom. She adopted me a couple years ago. Thank goodness. Should have done it earlier, but I was going through some things. But no, like with my husband, like I just saw the patterns and things I was doing, and if I'd get angry or hurt by him, I'd be like, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. And it was not only like sabotage of the relationship, but sabotage of myself. Like, well, I'm going to do this, which was hurtful to myself, whether it be drinking or tweaking or whatever I was doing at the time. But yeah, once I realized I was doing that, like, it's made things so much easier because I don't do that anymore. Like, I don't get, oh, now I'm mad, so I'm going to go do this. Don't do that. It's not helpful. It's hurtful. And it's hurting your future, and it's ruining your happiness. But yeah, you get into that stench or stretch where you just feel like you don't deserve happiness, perhaps because of things you've gone through or molds within your life or whatnot. I know, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, and this to start out with, I'm sorry that happened to you. I know it is super tough to lose a parent, and I can't even imagine how bad it would be to lose one that young. I mean, that's your formative years when you need that support, and then to lose the other one in that way, you know, that feeling of abandonment must have been horrible.
Yeah, and we did come back together. Like, he came back when I was like 13 years old, and he's like, surprise, I'm getting married. And I was like, wow, Like, I would have liked to know this before, even though it's none of my business, really. But no, like, in the very end, my dad was like my best friend, and I understood what he was going through as far as, like, he went through way more than I did, and I took the stuff I went through way worse than he did. So I kind of understand what he was going through, and he had a hard time as far as he's like, I really hope you can forgive me for this. And I'm like, Dad, I forgave you a long time ago. Like, I went through so much less and I took it so much worse. I totally get it. Ugh, I'm trying not to get all teary eyed right now. Like, my eyes are tearing up, but I'm keeping my vocal range pretty good. But he was my best friend, and he ended up dying when he was 49 and 2 months old. Um, it's just sad, the life process and things we go through and pains that hurt us and stuff like that. And it is a learning process. We learn so much from ourselves when we go through these different things. But it's important to forgive. Don't ever forget. But do forgive and don't hold it against each other, and, try to help each other through this whole thing. It's hard. Life is hard, but it's worth it.
That's so true, and that showed a lot of growth for your age. You had to grow up really fast, and that you could forgive him at that age, and then, obviously not forget, but that you could forgive him at that age and build a relationship. That shows a lot of maturity that a lot of people don't have, and that huge kudos for you, because a lot of people still hang on to that stuff and they will die holding that flag. And that hurts them more than anybody else, because,
Yeah.
A lot of times forgiving is an act we do to liberate ourselves so that we can move on and we can heal.
Yeah, it's not for them, it's for you, because, like you said, if you hold on to this, it can make you sick. Like, my little brother, he's held on to this for so long, and he's like, it's because of Dad, it's because of this, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's held on to all this stuff. Now he's got cancer, and he's not even really dealing with that. Luckily, my sister, like, I adopted her parents. They were like my parents when I was going through this abusive relationship. Finally got out of it by joining the military, but she's taking care of that because she's in Cortez where he is, and I'm here, and she's like, yeah, we're going to get this taken care of. We're getting him booked back into his doctor's appointments and stuff because he needs to take care of it. But I just wish he could forgive and let go of that, because having that negativity and that hate or whatever else he's carrying around is so bad for you. And now he's got cancer, and it's not good. It causes cancer, so many different health things when you carry around that negativity. It's toxic, not good for you.
That's so true, and it's so sad to me when people do that, because, like you said, they're doing that to themselves, and that's not what they wanted. But unfortunately, where our intention goes, our body goes, and our direction in life goes. So we need to free ourselves and let go.
Definitely.
And that's one of the things that I like to help people with, because I've had to go through those things. I've had to go through things that weren't fun. I've gone through things that I wasn't particularly proud of, but I've also gone through things that I came out of, and I was a little bit proud that I went through, because even though I didn't like it, I was like, I made it, and sometimes I wondered if I would. And here I am. And,
yeah.
I took some things that were really crappy, and it's like, I feel like if I can do that and I can help one person, then I don't say that I wish that I went through it, but it made it worthwhile. Not that, it's not something I would choose for myself or anyone else, but
exactly. I would have rather not done it, but I'm grateful that I did go through it, because had I not, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be that person. I wouldn't be able to help people with that knowledge, and I wouldn't, maybe, if you think of, I don't know if you've seen that movie, what was it, no, it was Sliding Doors, like there's a different course, had something that happened, there's like a different course your life could have taken, and like you wouldn't meet the same people, you wouldn't have the same life, and, it's like maybe it necessarily wouldn't have been a better one had you avoided like a big thing, like a car accident or something. So, it's kind of an interesting way. Like, you think parallel universes, but, it's really like, you just don't know. Like, you might not even be here had you avoided something you thought was really bad. So, but you wouldn't have met the people that you've met. And like, for me, maybe I wouldn't be able to help people,
Exactly.
because and I'm glad to be able to do it. Like, I'm glad to be able to do what I'm about to do and to be able to make that connection. And so, I feel like I'm turning something that wasn't great into a blessing. And so it makes it worth it.
It's like turning that cow turd into a bunch of beautiful flowers. I'll tell you,
Yes. Yes,
shit
that's
gets
it.
really shitty, but guess what? Shit can make things pretty. Like you said, you wouldn't have met the people you met. You wouldn't have become this person. You wouldn't have the knowledge you have had you not gone through that.
That is so true. That is so true.
I need to make a
And,
t-shirt now. Just kidding.
yeah, I think we got a little sidetracked.
Going back to the
But,
chakras.
yeah, it's all good. We took a little detour, just like life happens. We take little detours in life.
Mhm.
But,
Definitely.
so yeah, I think we were on the throat chakra, because I think we
No,
got
we
through
were
the heart
at
chakra.
we were at the solar plex one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is the throat. So it goes from here all the way up here, or is there one in here?
Well, we've got the heart chakra in between. That one's green, and that
Okay.
one's the opening of feelings, compassion, capacity to love, and no conflict. So I think we were kind of leading into this one.
Yes, you're right.
And
Because I wrote that
yeah,
down, green
yeah,
heart chakra.
yeah, yeah. So, like green aventurine, things like that. And the more I studied it, like, there's a whole bunch of different like stones that aren't necessarily that color that correspond with these chakras, but like each chakra has its own color, but the stones that go with it, like the healing stones, aren't necessarily that color, which makes it confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go with the ones that I go with, and I just kind of look at those and go, huh, that's interesting.
Right?
So yeah, yeah. And then of course, I've got um selenite, and I've got rose quartz and stuff like that, which they tend to
Yeah, I got a ton back here
amplify.
too. I got
Oh, okay, yeah.
crystals, I got selenite, I got the pink, what is it?
Oh, like the rose
Pink
quartz.
quartz. Yeah, pink rose quartz. And then I have
Yep.
the what is it? This one. Here, let me grab it off my stand. Sorry, I got my
We got
marker in my
regular
hand,
quartz.
but this one's like, what is that one called? It's
I don't know
kind
if
of,
that's labradorite. I don't really see it very well. I just know
yeah, I
it's
think it's like
shimmering.
labradorite, or it reminds me of,
Labradorite.
what is that bird that goes, "Ah, ah," with the pretty feathers? Peacock. Reminds me of a
Oh,
peacock.
yeah. Yeah, it does. That's really cool. I look like I'm looking over to the side, but my camera is actually over here.
Yeah,
Which,
I know.
kind of makes me. Yeah, I'm pointing over here to the camera, but wait a minute. No, the camera's, the camera's this way. So I look like I'm looking over here at, like, I'm really distracted, but no, the camera's not like straight up here. So yeah,
Then I
that was
have this
weird.
really
But
pretty,
hey,
like, green quartz. I don't know what the heck that is, but
I'm
I
not
love
sure.
it. It
I
looks
don't
kind of
know, but
like
there is a
jade,
mat.
but not.
Yeah, jade's. I don't know if it gets that dark. I'm not sure.
No, I think it's something else.
Yeah,
People,
there's a crystal. It's called Crystal Guide, and it's an app, and then you can like put in like different descriptors, or you can put in like colors, or you can put in like the name of something, or you can put in the properties you're looking for, which is
Mhm,
really cool. And then it'll give you like names of stones, and then it'll give you pictures. So I like using that one. But
definitely.
you pick out stones, like whichever, like if you go to rock shop, or if you're out looking, like at the beach, or you're just looking at the ground, and something calls to you to pick it up, that's meant to be with you. And then what I
Definitely.
like to do is look it up and see what the properties are, and then it's like, oh, that was something I was working on.
Yeah, I got a book
So,
from my mentor. She died from, it was colon cancer. It spread from her colon to her liver to her lungs, then to her brain. And she did everything she could to get rid of it. But I inherited a lot of books from her, and one of those was a stone book. And she's the one that's, first started teaching me about stones and how you can, one of the crystals I have that she gave to me was for communication with spirits. Maybe I need to use that to
oh,
get back in touch with her. She did show up the day she died, and that was pretty intriguing. The most beautiful spirit I ever saw. But it's a communication spirit, and it's got, different sides to it. Like some have certain sides. This one had a particular, amount of sides. So that was pretty intriguing. We're
wow.
off campus again, and I blame myself, but yes, tourmaline and selenite, those things are very important to carry with you if you're going on an investigation. They're protective stones for different reasons. But I think these other ones are cool too. When she was passing, her daughter actually put a rose quartz stone on her chest while she was passing. Because doesn't that that's for a connection, and it also portrays love or whatnot for the rose quartz?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll send out love vibes and it'll attract love vibes, and yeah, it'll kind of help cleanse, the air and things like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's really good on doing that. So
Nice.
yeah, I think that was very helpful. It's calming and soothing as well. So that would help transition that in a calm way.
Yeah, I had a rose quartz wand that my husband bought me, and it was supposedly for breaking ties or something, which was weird to me. I'm like, why did you buy this for me? But it broke because him and my son came in here to play games on my computer, and they knocked stuff around because this is a pretty small room, and it broke, but I still have it back here. But yeah, it's important to have stones, and a lot of people don't get it. They're just they're just rocks. Well, they are, but at the same time, they have certain qualities and certain things where they can actually help you.
Yeah, yeah, like everything contains energy, like we talked about earlier, and
Hmm.
they form and they contain the energy of the rock formation, like how it was formed. Like it forms with energy, the coming together of things, the elements. They come together to form this, and that contains the energy in it. And then you can also, um, there are ways that you can cleanse, the energy, because we're surrounded by energy. There's energy in it. The compass picks up on the true north and things like that. We each have our own true north. The things that we follow, the things that are important to us as values. We each have our North Star. And, so we also have our higher self, like our best self. So when we go to figure out what we should be doing, how do we picture our best self doing it? What is our best self? So, that's something that we should try to aim for and tap into. When you're trying to figure out what should my goals be, what am I aiming to do, what would your best self choose? What would your best self be doing? It's kind of like the power of affirmations, the power of doing one of those boards where you put up there like the different things, and then you look on that board, your goals, and you want to do this, you want to do that. What is your best self going to look like doing those things? What is that? But more importantly, how is that going to feel while you're doing those things? So
Definitely.
that's important. Um, so yeah, we're almost there on figuring out the chakras.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a
So
little
we're at the
sidetracked, but
throat chakra. What color is the throat chakra?
the throat chakra is blue.
Okay.
So with that, yeah, the throat is the ability to manifest and express your truth in the world, which is funny because we were just talking about that. So that was kind of a cool segue.
Definitely.
So it was like things are
We didn't even
flowing
plan
like
it.
they're supposed to. So that's pretty cool. It's doing that. Now the third eye is intuition, and that's kind of like a purple. And, that has to do with patterns of learning and a skill set and our memory. So that one is, pretty cool. Like a whole bunch of things are happening with our third eye. A lot of that's intuition, and like that's also connected with that creepy feeling or the butterflies that we can get in our stomach that kind of tell us something's off
Mm-hmm.
or
Or you
something
get that
is.
gut feeling like, instead of going the regular way home, I think I'll take this other route. And then there was a major accident or something. I don't know how many times that's happened. It's like we're basically humans and we have a pattern that we follow every freaking day. But sometimes you just get this feeling, maybe I should go some other way. And then a bad accident happens. Or maybe you decide, like when I was going to Phoenix the last time I went, I was like, I think I'm going to stop by the store really quick and pick up some cigars. Had I not stopped there, I would have been in a horrific accident. I wouldn't be here
Wow.
right now. And so I'm sitting there for a while, and then I decide to go to Google Maps. What's another way I could go through this route? Because this could be like 3 more hours. So I did that, but had I not stopped there, I swear, sister, like I would have been in that accident. So it's just things like that. Like you get this feeling and you don't know why. You don't have like a premonition or anything, or maybe you do, but you just get this feeling like maybe I should do this instead of this. Maybe I should go right instead of left. Just listen to your gut. Mine's getting pretty big, so it's got a really loud voice. I'm just kidding. But no, definitely listen to your gut. Your heart can lead you astray because the heart wants what the heart wants, but your gut never will. Your gut will always be honest with you. And people think of it literally as like, dang, this thing is pretty big. It's got a pretty big voice. And I like to make jokes about it. But seriously, when you get that feeling in your stomach, sometimes it's icky, sometimes it's gnawing. Listen to it. If you want to go left instead of right this time, go left instead of right. You'd be surprised what could happen. There's been so many times that I've listened to my gut and things went better than they should have. And I don't know if, people talk about like guides or like members of their family, like my mom or dad or somebody might be telling me this, but I just feel it in my gut. Like, and then it's in my head, like you said, that still small voice in your head that's like, let's go this way instead of this way. And you do it, and then you're still alive instead of in that mangled mess.
Yeah. There's a discernment that you learn to have. Like, is this a panic attack or anxiety, or is this my intuition? Like,
Mhm.
the intuition is more still. The intuition
Yeah.
is more of kind of like a no, don't go there, rather than, oh my God,
Yeah, and you can
So,
feel it. Like, generally it's down here, but you can feel it in your heart. You can feel it, like, sometimes even in your whole body. Your body trying to tell
yeah,
you something's wrong.
yeah. It takes some practice to be able to tell, is this just I don't want to, or is this just anxiety? Is this actually my intuition kicking in? Like to me, I don't know, for me it's more subtle. It's like, oh, maybe I should listen to that instead of, like just getting
It's
all
like a
twisted
small
up inside
tug.
about it. Like that can be anxiety for me.
Oh man, we did have a caller on here for a second. But I was saying before we get to that caller, I think her name was Christina. I'm not sure. Please call back if you did call in. We're not ignoring you. We're just, can we finish the chakras and then hopefully she'll call back in. So the next one
Yeah.
is the crown chakra, correct?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a lavender or a white color, and that one is access to the higher states of consciousness, open to what is beyond our understanding. It's also like our connection with the universe, God, Allah, whatever that is that you're connected to spiritually. So that is like the root is connection with the earth, and The crown is connection to up above. And what's funny about the crown is it sits above our head. Whoops, I'm seeing where above is on the camera. Above our head is the crown chakra, not on it, but above it. And the root is actually in us, like where we're sitting. So that's the interesting thing to me, is it's not actually in us. It's above us.
Yes, like right above. And it's funny, like, okay, so my mentor taught me start from your crown and go down to your feet and then go back up and then form this circle of protection around you, of light, this light that comes from within you, and make your own little safety bubble. And it actually works. It's amazing.
It does.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe this thing just fell down on me. It's a picture my
Wow.
kids made for me. We love you, Mom. What? Why did that just fall on me? I did not touch that. Weird.
Oh no,
And
that's
he's,
just like came from above. Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
They
it was
wanted
like up
to,
here.
I think they wanted to remind you, hey, we're here, and I think maybe you had a visitor.
I know. Dude, I have to tell you a story. Probably next hour because I don't want to interrupt anybody, but a doppelganger of me was seen last weekend. I will tell you that story. Where were we?
I
Dang.
forgot to say that the third eye is located here, just above our eyebrows, kind of like in the center of the
Yeah.
forehead. So, yeah, that right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one is the third eye.
Poking myself in the eye. Yeah, my daughter even talks about that, and she even talks about her past life, and she's only 8 years old now. First time she told me about her past life, she was a year and a half old.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, I wrote down green for the heart chakra because my son's favorite color is green, and he is so sensitive, so that totally adds up. And then I wrote down purple for the third eye because purple is Lily's favorite color. And then I also wrote down lavender because lavender and purple are pretty close for the crown chakra.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really makes a lot of sense as far as like what people's favorite colors are. Do you think, as far as the chakras go, is that what makes up our aura? Like, is it what we're using and implementing in our lives that's the color of our aura from our chakras? Or how does that work, do you think?
I think so. Like, I think it is corresponding to our kind of like our mental, emotional state and our physical state is just kind of like a manifestation of everything. And I'm still working on seeing it yet, but some people see like the aura out to here, and I just see it really close up to the body. I'm still working on that yet.
Yeah, that's what I see too. It's like right around the body. The only time I saw it huge was, like I said, with my mentor when she came to visit. It was huge, and it reminded me of one of those candles you buy where you see Mary or whoever, and the aura is like really huge. Hers was a really huge, like white color, and then it had silver spackles through it, and it had some like blue in it. I don't know.
Ooh,
It was so beautiful.
Those are really pure. Yeah,
And then
those are
her
really
hair.
pure.
Her hair was short because she went through chemotherapy and stuff, but when I saw her, her hair was long again, and she had a braid alongside her head. And when she died, you know, we had to clean her up because certain things happen when you pass away, and then we put her in the clothes she wanted to go to the other side with. But when she arrived here at my house, those white sparkly clothes that she was wearing turned into a beautiful white dress. It kind of reminded me of like a beautiful medieval dress. It was white and so gorgeous. And it was funny because Nova and Kinsey were there with me. Lily wasn't because she was just a baby, but Lily was her favorite. And I told the girls, I'm like, you know, she's about to pass. If you guys need to, you can go out to the car. Like, this is a really hard thing to go through, so you might not want to be here for this. And so I think Nova stayed, and Kinsey went out to the car, and then Nova at some point went out to the car. But yeah, Nova that night, she's like, Mom, can I sleep in here with you? Because Kat's out there, and she's looking out the window, and it's kind of freaking me out. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, can I sleep with you? And I'm like, yeah, come in. We got a California king-size bed. She can fit. So I'm like, yeah, get in bed. You know, we can do that. And then I don't know, it was so weird. Like, I was sleeping and I sat up and my eyes were closed, but like, you know how when your eyes are closed and there's light shining, you can see the light coming through your eyes? Like, I could see the light coming through, and then I opened my eyes and I looked, and there was Kat, and she was smiling, and her hair was so beautiful. She was wearing this beautiful dress. I think she was coming to check on Nova. And when I felt that, because like you said, you got to listen to that still small voice within you. You got to listen to those triggers. I'm like, she's not here for me. She's here for Nova. So I'm just going to go try to go back to sleep. It was the most beautiful spirit I ever saw. And I've seen a lot. She was the most beautiful. And I think it's because she knew a lot as far as stones and spirituality, etc. And loving herself, like being alone for so long and loving herself. Like, I don't know. That was the most beautiful spirit I ever saw. And she looked happy. I don't know. It was amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, that was a very special visit. Yeah, absolutely, I totally, totally love when people get visits like that and that they're aware enough that they're not afraid when they get those. Because, you know, sometimes people get visits and they're freaked out by it. Like, oh my gosh, I saw my mom, or I saw my grandma and it freaked me out. She was at the foot of my bed, that kind of thing. And it's like, she's trying to tell you she loves you.
Yeah, or let you know she's okay. And generally, that's the message. Message. No, the message is, I'm okay. And that's generally what it is. And it sounds repetitive, but it's so important because people are wondering, like, did they hurt a lot at death? Did this and this and that happen? There's so many questions. And generally, they come back to let you know, I'm okay. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. That's what my mom told me after she passed. And that's important. And that gives your heart peace. Like, instead of worrying all the time, you can actually find comfort. They're okay. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And they're the happiest they've ever been. Because as far as I understand it, when you go to the other side, it's an immense amount of love and acceptance. And it's a happy place.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like, oh, that's just a cop-out when you say, oh, well, they're in a better place. In reality, generally, unless they were a really bad person, it is a better place.
Yeah, I think next time we can talk about, because I don't want to take away from doing chakras, but we can talk about near-death experiences and visitations and things more, because I've had, some encounters, and I don't want to dwell on, I mean, we can talk about, I would absolutely love to hear about paranormal investigations that you've done. I've had some encounters myself, so that would be something to explore as well. So
Yeah,
we could get like the lighter side and kind of like the spooky side. And I think closer to Halloween, everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat, like, yeah, give me some of that. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and
So.
it's funny because, like, the reason I got into the paranormal field was because a child in our community went missing. Not only was it a child in our community, it was a friend of my eldest daughter's. And that's why I came out of the paranormal closet. Otherwise, I had paranormal experiences throughout my whole life, as far back as I can remember. You just don't talk about it. And I learned that at an early age because, like I said before, I would tell people that I thought were my friends, and they're like, don't talk to her. She's a weirdo, you know? And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I won't talk about it anymore. And it's like you get somebody really close to you and you're like, can I share something with you? And then you share that. Most times, if they are that close to you, they accept it. Other times they really, it scares them because they don't understand it unless they've gone through it themselves. But yeah, I stayed in the paranormal closet until 2012, and then I'm like, that's it. I'm coming out. I need to help this mother, because if that was my kid, I'd want some sort of help. And we found so much evidence doing paranormal investigations, and that's how Four Corners Paranormal Investigations started. But I felt really bad for that lady that came in, because we were still talking and she was in, then she was out. I think her name was Crystal. Crystal, if you're still listening, please come back in. We're about to go to music break here in about 2 minutes, but if you can call back in, we'll pull you back up and let's do this chakra thing. We've gone through the basics as far as what the different colors and alignment and everything means within our bodies, which is pretty cool. It's really cool to understand it before you actually, try to partake in like cleansing or reading or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And, I was in that same kind of, I don't know, closet too. I mean, anything in this type of realm, because I came and I still come from a religious family, and it was like, oh boy, you don't talk about that. It's
Yeah.
like, that's not of God, blah, blah, blah. And, well, everything's, related. So, I mean, if, but I'm not going to go into religion here, but it's, kind of like, I believe in, God and Jesus and all that, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to hearing about everything else and that I believe they're valid too, because, you know, I'm not going to try to convert anybody. And I believe that everybody has the right to believe the way that they feel, and that, everything's pretty well valid.
Mhm.
And everybody's allowed to believe that nothing exists. I mean, that's their prerogative too.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like when I was a kid, um, my parents didn't ever take me to church or anything. But I knew there was something else out there. So I was seeking things out and I sought out so many different churches, went to so many different venues. When I got not stuck, but placed with my grandparents, went to their church. Then I went to other churches when I was with my dad because of the daycare workers. They're like, hey, come and have a sleepover. My dad's like, hell yeah. So we'd go do sleepovers. We'd make little brown bag puppets. And we'd go to church. And I don't know, I was just seeking out religion. And then when my aunt came and got us and took us back from Arkansas to Washington State, that's when me and my brother took the lessons. We became LDS. So from the age of 7 to about 15, I was LDS. When my dad came back when I was 13, I went with him. I kind of fell away from the church, but I went when I could. But I've never been a morning person. I still am not. But yeah, I'd go to the church and then I fell away because I decided to go to a ward that was to my needs as far as like I stay up late, I get up late. So this is the word that works for me. And then the bishop pulled me in the office and said, hey, you can't come to this ward anymore because we think you're here because of a particular boy. And I'm like, are you serious? So after that, I quit going to church and then I joined the military. And then I was still curious about religion. Like, what does each religion have to offer? So I visited the Catholic, the Baptist, I visited so many churches because everything is at your fingertips when you're in the military. You can go anywhere. And then I fell away, came back, fell away again. Now I'm back again because not for me, but for my kids. Like, I believe my kids need to learn about my big brother Jesus because no matter what, I love my big brother Jesus. I'm grateful for his atonement and for helping us out with our sins, etc. He was a cool guy. I really love him. I really look up to him. Plus, he was pretty hot. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I love Jesus. Yeah, that long hair and those abs and shit, like Carpenter dude. No, he was a pretty cool guy. His character was just super hot. But yeah, like I'm a spiritual person. I believe I can go out in my yard, or I can go out to the forest, or I can go wherever, and I can talk to God in my mind. I don't have to go to church to do that. But as far as it goes for my kids, like they need to learn the basics in order to understand this. Because my daughter, like kids learn from their friends, and she's singing this song about 5 gods and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the crack are you singing right now? I'm trying to understand. 5 gods, what? Where'd you learn this? So I'm like, okay.
Oh boy.
So yeah. I'm like, let's take you to the lessons. They got baptized. Now we're still going through lessons, even though they said that was the last ones. And now they're pressuring them into praying. And I looked up a scripture, and it's like, Jesus even warned against praying in public. Quit pressuring my kids to do that. But anyways, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I have been religious throughout my life. I have experienced different things here and there and everywhere, but I don't think you have to go to church to be in league with God and go to heaven. And they get so mad when you miss church. They're like, oh, we noticed you weren't here most of last Sunday, which was true. I woke up an hour late because I set my alarm wrong. I woke up, I was like, holy crack, this doesn't seem right. You guys get up, we gotta go right now. So we made it for primary school, but not for sacrament. But yeah, I'm basically doing this for my kids. I was sacrificing myself for my kids because I think they need to learn these basic traits and then they can grow from there.
Yeah, I actually grew up LDS too.
You
We
did?
didn't make it to the coach. Yeah, hey, sister. Hey. But yeah, so my parents kind of fell away from it, and then I kind of came back to it, and then I kind of fell away a little bit. But I discovered and explored other churches, and then I had a friend who was Muslim. I checked that out, and I checked out some pagan things just out of curiosity.
Yes.
And then, but you can pray doing the dishes. God hears you.
Exactly.
So
you can do it in your head. You don't have to. Okay, so when we do prayer at night, we'll get down on our knees because that's the most reverent way to do it, most respectful. So we'll do that at night. But like you said, you could be doing your dishes. You could be cleaning house. If you're just talking to him in your head, that's fine. He doesn't mind, And it's not like he's not listening to you. I think he still hears us, whoever he may be. There's so many different people saying different things. Who knows what it is? Could be Allah, could be God, could be the damn Allens. I don't know. But he hears us. And like I said, I don't think you have to I have to go to church every Sunday in order to go to heaven. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think you need to pay tithing. I don't think you need to do so many things they say. I think a lot of things are man-made, and a lot of things are added to the Bible or subtracted from the Bible for the will of man. That's just what my heart tells me, or that little still small voice. So, I don't know. That's what I know. And I know I love God and my brother Jesus Christ. I know they love me too. And I know there's stuff happening here. Okay, so I was going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you really quick because we should have gone to break already, but last weekend on Sunday, I did story time. And I left the office especially early. Generally, I'll stay up very late, like I called you very late the other night. But I went out there to get my kids' lunches and clothes and stuff ready. And I came back in, and my husband was just giving me this really strange, peculiar look. And I asked him, I'm like, generally I'd ignore it and just go to bed because I have a guilty conscience. But I was like, why are you looking at me like that? And he's like, how did you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you went into the office about 3 minutes ago, and then you're right here, like coming in from the living room. How long have you been out there? And I was like, about 25, 30 minutes. I was getting clothes and snacks and everything and getting a snack. He's like, I swear to God, you just came through here. You were looking at your phone, which generally I'd be turning my phone to see the ground to walk through because I don't want to wake anybody up. He said he saw me come into the office, and I didn't look at him or talk to him, but he saw me go in there. And then, 5 minutes later, I come in again from the same way. So, yeah, he saw my doppelganger. So she's back.
Oh.
I don't know what that means, but it's kind of freaky.
Hey. Wow. I keep being told there's one of me at some grocery store and then some other place, and I'm like, I'd like to see a picture of that. Because,
right?
They keep saying that. I'm like, yeah, well, if you talk to her, I'm going to know nothing about it, so good luck.
Good luck with that one.
So, yeah, I'm not going to get the message.
Well, on that note, sister, we do have to go to our second music break. This break we have Miss Tracy Cruz from Oakland, California with Electricity, Flowers and Candy, and Emotional Love. It sounds really beautiful. We'll see you guys back here in about 13 minutes.
Your love empowers me. It gives me the energy to move beyond my capabilities. There is no limit to what your love can do.
I feel chemistry whenever you're close to me, and I cannot explain your energy, 'cause you're pulling me like gravity. It feels so strong, I cannot escape your electricity. This rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. I will never be the same. Rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. I will never be the same. Physical attraction holds us like a magnet, and I cling to you like static, and I can't let go. Your love is so dynamic, makes me a fanatic, got me feeling ecstatic. Will my heart come to this rush flowing through to my veins? This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. I will never be the same. Rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. I will never be the same. Rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. Straight right through your heart. Rush flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. I will never be the same. You know what you've done to me. I feel so excited, feeling strong and I can't fight it. Oh, do you know what you've done to me? Got me feeling so inspired, set my heart and soul on fire. Let's create a love that's strong. Let's make life a happy song. Let's bring joy to everything. Let's enjoy what life brings. Let's create a love that's so strong. Let's make life a happy song. Let's bring joy to everything. Let's enjoy what life brings. This rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. I will never be the same. Ooh, this rush keeps flowing through to my veins. This feeling's insane and I can't explain. Ooh, I will never be the same.
Your voice is the source,
No.
and I'm the microphone. I receive what you say to me.
I will never find someone else like you. You make me feel so good inside. Your love lights up my heart like electricity. Electricity. I will never find someone met you, my life changed. Your love rained all over me. It was blissful, so special, essential. Life poetry, true beauty. We created, we made it. Reality, pure affection with expression. A connection was meant to be. You make me feel so good inside, like therapy for my mind. You make me feel so good inside. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart and soul. You make me feel so good inside. You make me feel so good inside.
Now what is this that's happening? I don't even know you anymore. Oh, yeah. Changes moving through every day. Yeah. And I don't even know what we're fighting for.
Our bright days turn to sleepless nights. Our loving ways have turned to endless fights, and we can't seem to compromise. We try so hard to make things right. Yesterday confused in the past. It's been put down, it's been shattered, and then I'm left without any clue to know the real truth about what I found.